Yeah, hello. This is Dr. David Kinboyson. Anita, I'm giving you a feedback on your work. The first thing is the topic. Of course, when you are doing an assessment, you should be thinking at this point, what kind of tools you're going to use for your assessment. And you are saying you are measuring impact of third-party logistics, the 3PL, and supply chain performance, and keep these two variables in mind. What you're going to do is do an impact study. I'm not sure that's what you want to do because you need segregated data that is more than 4 years to do a pre and post analysis of the impact. So watch out if you don't have that kind of data, then you can just measure the effect. So probably the impact could be changed to what effect. And let's look at your intro. You're doing a case study. I've seen that your intro. So 4 key things you should remember to do in your intro. The first thing is the historical perspective of the topic. Historical perspective of the topic. And when we say historical perspective of the topic, so as I'm saying, your background of the study should capture 4 key things. The first is the historical perspective of the subject matter. You're talking about third-party logistics and supply chain performance. So first of all, tell us the emerging issues in third-party logistics and emerging issues in supply chain performance. Each one could take a paragraph, okay? And then the next thing is to define the key constructs, supply chain performance, and then third-party logistics by a known or a known author who is an authority in that area of study. And then when you have done that, so that will be the second thing. First one, historical perspective of the subject matter. Second one, you're talking about the definition of the key terms and in the construct. And then the third one, state the aim and objective of the study. The aim is the topic. The aim of the study is to assess the impact of third-party logistics providers on supply chain performance. And then the objectives, you go to the objective where you have your objectives, and then you come and state them here. The outcome of the study will then you indicate 1, 2, 3, and then if you have 4 objectives, you indicate it. It means that your intro should be the last thing you should write because it captures this other aspect of your work. And then the last thing is to state the brief problem statement. So it means that the problem statement should have been written. Brief problem statement, what is the specific problem? Come and state it here. And then also you add the significance of the study. That is the justification for the need for the study. Significance of the study looks at 3 basic things. It looks at the significance of the study to the case study organization in terms of improving performance, improving revenue, reducing reducing cost, and also probably improving the entire supply chain of the organization. And then the other one is to industry and players in that industry and how the finding could shape policy or give policy direction and all that. And the last one has to do with the addition of knowledge to the body of knowledge, that is academia. So these are the 3 things. You could pick just one of them and add it as part of the introduction so that your introduction will then capture everything in your proposal. The introduction should not be more than 1.5 pages. It should not even go there. At best, I advise that you should have 1 page introduction, okay? And then problem statement, you need to look at 4 specific things. You need to state the specific problem. You have not done that here. What is the specific problem? State it and give reference to it. In fact, if you don't have a specific problem relating to the case study organization or relating to the industry, then there's no need, coming up with a problem statement. When you have done that, then you state industry statistics. Statistics that are showing some correlation or some sort of impact or effect of third-party logistics on supply chain performance. Maybe some statistics, it could be on third-party logistics alone or supply chain performance, just to tell people that this topic is something that is emerging That is very important. From there, the third thing is make the problem an industry one. From the specific problem, make it an industry one. Make it also global. Tell us other issues pertaining to third-party logistics and supply chain performance in other countries. I mean, how these things, papers that have been written in that direction. And then when you are done with that, in some cases, we expect you that at this area, you try to explain the concepts well. Maybe the third-party logistics, the problem you are dealing with, you want to handle some two aspects of third-party logistics. You are not doing all. It is in the problem statement you do that justification. Or supply chain performance, you are not looking at all aspects of supply chain performance. You are looking at some specific area in supply chain performance. So it's two things. Either you go to the topic and then you indicate maybe on supply chain operational performance, supply chain something, okay? That's what you want to indicate. You can do that in the topic, or better still, come here, leave the topic as it is, and indicate that for the purpose of the study, supply chain performance will refer to this area so that the reader is aware that what actually you're doing. Then, aside that, then you tell us current study that has sought to also research into these areas. The idea of bringing those current studies, and we advise that you have about 4 or 5. The idea, and these should be very current, not more than 5 years. The idea of doing that is to make sure to create some sort of gap, okay? Some sort of gap in terms of what these studies they sought to do and the area, their limitation, which in fact their papers will tell you. When you go to the paper, they will tell you the limitation. So you go there, you state the paper, its findings, and you state its limitation. Then you use that limitation to establish a gap that your study will fill. Indeed, if your study is not going to fill a gap, it's just going to add literature to the existing literature, then you need to state that. Then you come to your objectives. I tried to do something here. Remember that I saw your objectives, what you indicated. I realized that they were not that strong to assess the impact of warehouse and transportation management. See, you have two main constructs, 3PL and supply chain performance, right? If I were you, what I would do is that I'll look at the component of 3PL, okay, and use each of them to set the objective, hold supply chain performance constant. So the first one, assess the impact of, A, which is a component of 3PL on supply chain performance. The second one, evaluate the impact of what? B, on supply chain performance. The third one, I added another one, investigate. So the verbs investigate, evaluate, and assess can all measure towards an assessment. So that from your topic, you have been able to do a proper alignment, okay? Take note of that, please. And then the significance of the study, we are saying that look at 3 areas. I've already discussed that, the significance of the study to the case study of the organization, to the industry in terms of policy, and then to the body of knowledge. Literature review, 3 key areas you need to look at: theoretical review, conceptual review, empirical. I've seen that you've done the conceptual and empirical. You have not told us any theory that is setting the theoretical framework of the study. It's important you do that. A theory, you need a theory to set the boundaries of the study. So whoever is reading knows where you are coming from. And then there are a lot of theories on distribution, theories on supply chain performance. Find any of them, define what the theory is, tell us the component of the theory, tell us why that theory or those theories you are using resonate with the study. Now, the previous study and future trend, this one addresses your empirical study. So you could have used the same references here in the problem statement to justify current studies that have been done in that area, and repeat the same thing here as your empirical review. Okay, that's very important. And then I could see also your conceptual framework. You use an existing conceptual framework. I did this just to explain something. You use a conceptual framework that is adapted from this guy. Okay, If you adapt something, then and you don't do anything to it, then you just import it. At this level, we don't expect that. So what I said was that if you pick your 3PL, for instance, if this represents your 3PL, you have the component in it, A, B, C, okay? You can put supply chain performance here, all right? And then link each one to it. Or if you think that there's a mediating variable, just as you brought flexibility or something, logistics flexibility, you can also bring a mediating variable here, which will also connect, okay? So that at least you might have adapted something from this guy, but it's your construct that modified, okay, based on what the guy did. So you see that if you do your conceptual framework very well, then your objective will be straight. This one, it impact on this, it impact on that, the C, it impact on what? Supply chain performance. And then maybe the 3PL, it impact on supply chain performance mediated by what? F. Then you are good to go, all right? The other one is methodology, where you are looking at your research approach. I've indicated that look at research approach, look at research paradigm, and then look at research design. Your research approach, I've indicated that qualitative, quantitative, or mixed paradigm, either you're positive or relativist, or you're in the middle, maybe pragmatist, anything that goes with it. Now, make sure that these things are aligned. And for each of the approach that you have goes with a specific what? Paradigm. And it also goes with a specific what? Design. Of course, if you are doing a quantitative studies, you cannot say that you are doing an exploratory study. You cannot say that. You could do a descriptive or explanatory what study. If it's a qualitative, then you can do an exploratory what study. If it is a mix, then it's a combination of the two. So take note of that, and then look at research design that are for quantitative, and those ones that are for qualitative, and then the mixed method. Population and sample size, you've done a good job, but it's important that state the size of the population. The number may be a guess figure, but state. And then you gave a justification. You said that based on Ahmed et al. 2015, you took 100. But Ahmed et al. 2015 said he will pick 100 participants. They will pick 100 participants based on something, a certain population. So let us know the population. Other than that, go to research advisors, Google 206. They will give you a population size and the sample size that you have to pick. And then you can refer to them if the population have the same attributes. And then remember, if you are doing your sampling technique, if you are doing a quantitative study, align yourself with the probability sampling technique. Qualitative, align with what? The non-probability sampling technique. Don't mix them. So if you are doing a quantitative study, then I expect that you need to indicate that you are using random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified, and all that. And if it's qualitative, purposive, judgmental, or snowball, and all that. Also, your method of your research design should align with your method of data analysis. If it's a quantitative study, then you can use SPS. So qualitative, you don't mention SPSS because SPSS is for quantitative analysis. All right, indicate how the data will be analyzed. Don't just mention SPSS. SPSS is just a tool. Are you going to analyze it in table and chart and forms or whatever? You need to indicate that. You have indicated tabular, graphic, and narrative form. Narrative form means that you are doing what? A mixed study. So please, in your research approach, indicate that. And it's good that you indicate the scope of the study. I've added limitation. So that is part of it. But in the whole, significance of the study, as I said, let it go and put it right beneath aim and objective. Look at these things and then correct the things that I've asked you to do. And then you conclude. When you introduce something, you conclude. I think when you fix these things, you are good to go. Thank you for your time. This again, Dr. David Boyson.